Hey y'all, this is your girl Tysheen and I'm back with another video. How you doing? How you feeling? Yes, we're gonna be reacting to 6 ways British and American airports are very different. I don't even know what's the difference. I never been to the UK, so I wouldn't even know the difference. So let's just get straight to it because I'm curious.
Hello, I'm Lawrence and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to airports. As a frequently flying YouTube sensation, I have been to my fair share of countries, including America, Britain, France. That's it. And during one of those recent holidays / vacations, I caught myself musing at some of the differences between British and American airports. And today I'm going to answer which country has the biggest airports, the busiest airports, and the worst security, as well as plenty of other high-flying differences. That pun was really shoehorned. So sit back and buckle up as we take a long-haul flight from one side of the pond to the other, and I promise we won't get lost in it. Over the years, Lost in the Pond researchers found that 50% of all British-American differences come down to size. And it turns out that airports are no different. It'll probably come as no surprise to Brits and Anglophiles alike that the largest airport in Britain is London Heathrow. Covering an area of land equal to about 4.74 square miles, London Heathrow is absolutely massive by British standards. You see, the United States boasts several airports that absolutely dwarf Heathrow, with 5 of the top 7 largest airports on Earth located right here in the brave new world. Nobody calls it that anymore. And the largest of these, and second largest in the entire world, is not LAX or JFK or O'Hare. It is Denver International Airport. And I've been to Denver International Airport and I can confirm it's massive. Between the interterminal trains, golf carts and wheelbarrows, it took me about 8 hours just to find my luggage. But all of this talk of excessive land use got me thinking, does the size of an airport inform how busy it is? Well, in Heathrow's case, yes. It probably comes as no surprise to anybody that as the largest airport in the UK, Heathrow is easily the busiest. With pre-pandemic numbers of roughly 80 million annual passengers, Heathrow services almost twice the amount of the second busiest airport in the UK, that's London Gatwick. But when looking at 2019's pre-pandemic rankings, the top 10 is absolutely dominated by airports in the United States. Back then, 4 American airports featured in the world's top 10, while in 2021, amid the ongoing effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, the United States accounted for a whopping 80% of the top 10. And when we think of the busiest airports in the United States, those in Los Angeles, New York and Chicago probably spring to mind soonest. But in pre-pandemic times, having handled more than 110 million annual passengers, Atlanta International Airport was not only the busiest in the United States, but the entire world. And its large numbers owe much to the fact that Atlanta is a giant hub for Delta Airlines, which just happened.
I was about to say, Atlanta, Georgia airport is huge. I've been to Los Angeles airport before, but Georgia airport is huge.
Happens to be headquartered in the city. Oh, and speaking of Delta variants, that brings us on to this. The spectre of COVID-19 hangs over us like a perpetual nightmare, or flying with EasyJet. And over the last couple of years, countries around the world have had to adapt to government mandates around flying. In Britain and America, much like everywhere else, this is ever evolving. Currently, as my wife and I found on a recent visit to Paris, a trip that I haven't mentioned at every opportunity, travellers aged 2 and older, regardless of nationality or citizenship status, are required to show proof of a negative COVID test taken 24 hours before the flight back to the United States. And I can honestly say, this is the first time a Frenchman has ever stuck a stick up my nose, or anywhere else for that matter. Currently, entering the UK is a little bit different. Gone are the days of those 14-day quarantine periods. According to the UK government's website, once entering the United Kingdom, be it England, Scotland, Wales or Northern Ireland, you do not need to complete a passenger locator form, show proof of vaccination status, or take any pre-departure or post-arrival.
Wait. Let's go back. When entering the UK, you do not need to. I don't know why I was thinking you do need to. Okay, it says do not need to. Okay. Do not need to.
Any pre-departure or post-arrival tests. And then something about how the UK government has recommended taking well-known COVID precautions. Of course, all of this COVID malarkey is the last thing you want to think about, especially when you have to navigate this. People like to say that airport security is just all theatre, but as somebody who once worked in the theatre, I can tell you that airport security has painfully little understanding of improv and Stanislavski. And from one side of the pond to the other, there are some subtle and not so subtle differences in how security operations operate. For instance, in the United States, passengers are still required to remove their shoes before going through that security detector thing.
Annoying.
This is normally not the case when flying from or within the United Kingdom, though they might ask you to remove footwear if it causes the security detector thing to go off. And then there's liquids, right? You're allowed to take liquids as part of your hand luggage, so long as it doesn't exceed a certain amount. And that amount is exactly the same whether you're flying from Britain or America. And I know what you're thinking, ooh, Lawrence, this video is about differences, not similarities. Well, as is often the case when it comes to Britain and America, the difference lies in the unit of measurement. In Britain, we say no more than 100 millilitres, and this equates to the US mandate of 3.4 ounces. And then there's pre-check. Pre-check sounds so quintessentially American it couldn't possibly exist in Britain. But what is pre-check? Pre-check, or TSA pre-check to give it its full name, is only a feature of the United States. Following a background check, fingerprinting, and paying a fee of $85, pre-check passengers get an expedited security process in which, shock horror, they don't have to take off their shoes. Though in my experience, far too many of them do once they get on the plane. And while British Airways does participate in this program at US airports, pre-check is not available in Britain. Oh, and speaking of British Airways, that brings us on to this.
Airlines.
It goes without saying that British and American airports are populated by notably different airlines. The big one in Britain, and one that you may well use if you're travelling between Britain and the United States or vice versa, is British Airways. In the event that you don't use British Airways in that scenario, you'll likely end up on its US equivalent, American Airlines. Since we're strictly talking about airports today, I'm not going to do a deep dive into the differences between a BA flight and an American Airlines flight, but I will do that in a later video, and I've just realised that nobody wants to hear the term deep dive when talking about planes. But some other airlines that you will encounter in Britain are as follows, and note the quality of these may vary. BA City Flyer, Virgin Atlantic, EasyJet, Logan Air, that's the Scottish one, Eastern Airways, and Wizz Air UK. On the US side, there are many. In addition to American Airlines, you have United, Southwest, Alaska, JetBlue, Frontier.
I don't know why. I love JetBlue. Oh my God. I have a story about that, man. I don't know why. I just love JetBlue. That's the only airline well, I like JetBlue and Delta. That's the only two airlines that I really like.
Delta, Allegiant Air, and Hawaii Airlines, just to name a few. We can hardly talk about the differences between British and American airports without discussing terminology. While both countries commonly refer to that big heavy metal thing with wings as a plane, Americans might use the slightly longer term of airplane, whereas in Britain we sometimes use the word aeroplane. To describe the action of getting off the plane, American air staff will sometimes use the word deplane. While in Britain we might say, I don't know, disembark, exit, sod off. Naturally, the departments overseeing security are different on either side of the pond. In America, this is presided over by the Transportation Security Administration, otherwise known as TSA, while in Britain, it's the Department for Transport, otherwise known as uppercase D, lowercase f, uppercase T, which is a bloody mouthful. And you know those horizontal conveyor belts that get you through the airport more quickly? Well, both countries might refer to this as a people mover, but in Britain I've also heard it referred to as a moving walkway. And
moving walkway, I kind of like that though. Moving walkway. I never use that thing. I don't know where I be walking. I don't be seeing it. I don't know. I don't think I ever. I probably did use it one time, but that was it.
And in America, a moving sidewalk. And when it comes to our suitcases and bags, Brits are more likely to refer to the collective as luggage and sometimes baggage. And Americans more likely baggage, but sometimes luggage. And that's it. We've reached our final destination. Thankfully, not like in the films. Let me know in the comments below if you've experienced airports in both countries. I'm Lawrence Brown. You can follow me on Twitter at LostInThePondUS. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that my videos don't get lost in the pond.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. I love watching his videos. He taught me so much about the differences of other countries and America. But wow, okay. I see a few difference. Y'all say baggage, we say luggage. Tomato. We all know what we're talking about. But if there's any other videos you would like to recommend me, comment below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, so go down there and subscribe. And if there's any other videos you'd like me to react to, let your girl know. And I will see you later.